Welcome back. All right, so a quick news video for your Saturday, August 13th. Again, things are pretty quiet around the NHL world. Waiting on something noisy to take place. Should be soon, and we'll get into the RFA side of it because the UFA side of it, of course, every day we're talking about Kadri. He's not been signed anywhere yet, so something's hung up somewhere, I guess. But we'll see what happens because there's been a lot of rumors of what the Islanders might be doing to make cap space. But again, it's just rumors at this point, so we'll see what happens. So starting off, Knyzhov, a defenseman that I like for San Jose, tore his Achilles tendon. This seems to be happening a lot. It feels like torn Achilles has become the new injury on vogue, and a lot of guys are having this problem. And of course, it's a very, very painful injury. Requires surgery very often. And in this case, the surgery is going to keep Knyzhov out for 6 months, which means for the first few months of the season, San Jose will not have him. He's a good defensive defenseman. And so we'll see if San Jose makes any other moves or if anything else happens. But they'll miss Knyzhov back there. I think he's a good defensive defenseman, right? I think there's a lot of offense there, but you don't need offense from all your defensemen. All right. Next up, Johan Larsson, who apparently had some offers in the National Hockey League. He wasn't all that happy with the offers he was getting, and he felt like he was going to get an opportunity to play more if he signed at home. So he is signed with Brynäs of the Swedish League, and so he's off to play in Sweden. He's young enough, though, that if he decides to come back to the NHL, I'm sure there's a team that'll pick him up. But yeah, he probably would have been used in a fourth line role. I would totally understand why he'd want to play at home. It's a shorter schedule, and he might get more ice time. So it makes sense to me. I totally get why players do that. And again, I've talked about on the channel where I totally get when players decide to go to Europe rather than signing in the NHL. There are reasons why that's advantageous, even if you do make less money than you do in the NHL, which isn't always the case either. Anyways, that being said, moving along. Vegas has signed two of their young players. They have signed Jake Leschyshyn. They've signed Paul Cotter, both of them to 3-year deals, worth a reported $750,000 each, which is the NHL's league minimum now. So I like this with Leschyshyn. I think there's a little bit of upside there with Leschyshyn. We'll see what happens there. But of course, Paul Cotter been called up a couple of times last year, and every time he got called up, I said welcome back. Which of course I'm old, so a lot of people wouldn't get the reference, but I found it humorous. Anyways, so Vegas is keeping both of those players. League minimum contracts are like gold to the Vegas Golden Knights, who are always up against the cap. So if you've got guys who can come in and play who are making less than $1 million a season on the cap, that absolutely helps you out with the rest of your roster. So we'll see what kind of role Leschyshyn plays and how many games Cotter gets into this year. But I think it's going to be interesting to watch Vegas, and I know we've got the season previews going. I'm in the Pacific Division right now, and at some point, over the next couple of days, I'll get to Vegas. But I kind of want to do another video looking at Vegas as well, outside of just the season preview. And just, yeah, I mean, there's some question marks with that roster, aren't there? Anyways, that being said, I want to talk about RFAs today as well, because it's been quiet. And I'm wearing Dallas because I'm waiting for Robertson. I'm waiting for Ottinger to sign. Robertson is one of the most exciting young players in the National Hockey League. He is absolutely fantastic. He's proven that in year one and year two. In year two, he was better than he was in year one. And he really should be re-signed by Dallas by now. The one thing is, of course, that people were waiting on the potential for an offer sheet. But with more than half the league up against or over the cap, the teams that still have cap space are not the kind that are going to give a huge offer sheet out. And even some of the teams that have cap space really wouldn't be wise to make a huge offer sheet because some of them have contracts coming up in the next couple of years, and they want to make sure that they're not throwing off their salary structure, right? So when you make those big offer sheets, you're trying to make an offer that the team won't match. So you kind of have to overvalue the player. That's why when we see these offer sheets, people are like, he's not worth that much. Oh, the team knows that. The team knows that. They're okay with it. They want the player, and they're doing what they can to pry the player away from his team. The Islanders, of course, have both Dobson and Romanov sitting there. Dobson's one as well. That, yeah, there may have been an offer sheet early on, but there wasn't. And now it is highly unlikely to happen. Romanov coming off of I thought he had a decent year for Montreal, and I'll be interested to see how he does with the Islanders, but they got to sign. My guess is they signed in July, And Lou's just going to announce everybody being signed and traded about 10 minutes before opening face-off in the season. It just feels like that's how Lou does things. The Senators have a couple as well. Alex Formenton, we'll see what he signs for. And Eric Brandstrom. Brandstrom, do you sign him for 2 years? Probably a 2 years, show me kind of contract. He should be a regular in their lineup this season. Be interesting to see how much he gets. Sean Durzi with LA. Do you sign him long term? Maybe give him a little bit higher cap hit than people might expect because you think it's going to be a bargain later. What about Kirby Dach with Montreal? Do you pay him like the Kirby Dach he was a couple years ago, or do you look at his totals this past year in Chicago and say, this is what we think you're worth, and maybe that's why the signing hasn't been done? And of course, with Toronto, Rasmus Sandin, another one that early on in the summer, there was discussions of, there could be an offer sheet. There wasn't, and again, not likely to be. So a lot of these players are just stuck in limbo, it seems. I would imagine some of them will get signed as we get closer to training camp and into training camp, but yeah, there are instances where players don't sign right away. Maybe they don't get to play early on in the season, and it can be tough for them to get in shape. It can be tough to get themselves back up to speed. So there's no reason to panic yet. We're still a little under 8 weeks away from the start of the season, but we're only 8 weeks from the start of the season. So it's not panic. We're not any kind of level of panic, but at the same time, there has to be at least a little bit of concern. Again, that's why I'm wearing Dallas. I feel some concern. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, which one of these restricted free agents is going to sign, and which one do you think actually holds out into the season? Says, no, I'm not going to settle for that. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happen upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.